This is from Reese Lamoureux on YouTube, who asks, who do the Penguins target this offseason if they get rid of Jarry and or Nedeljkovic? Does a guy like Dan Vladar interest you as a unrestricted free agent, or are there some guys that can be targeted via a trade? I don't see the Penguins throwing the rookie goalies in to just get shelled with our defense that could end up worse next season if we don't replace Marcus Pettersson. So shout out to Reese for sending this in. We'll do this the same way we took the last one, and we'll go piece by piece. If Jarry and Ned are gone, what do you think of a guy like Dan Vladar? He'd be coming off of a $2.2 million contract with the Calgary Flames, currently backing up for Dustin Wolf, who has emerged this season, is 11-11-6 with an .895 save percentage, a .286 goals against average, and that's been the book on him since the 21-22 season, where he had a .906 save percentage. He's regressed to that point, and it's about where we see him this year is where he's been the last couple.
Yeah, I know the Flames had an interesting goalie situation heading into this season. Dan Vladar has actually played well as of late, I believe it is. So that's at least a bonus. Riding 4-game point streak. He got the no decision in that big loss to Toronto. I would, as a backup option, I don't hate it. I think as a backup option, you take most goalies. And Dan Vladar is definitely near the top of that list.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he'd come in, he'd work for cheap. Obviously, the Flames are going to be rolling with Dustin Wolf for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going the AHL. Heading into the year, the Flames really didn't know where they were. I believe it was a 3-horse race for the starting position between Wolf, Vladar, and I forget his name in the A right now. And I believe he's done well down there. So the Flames may look to Wolf and AHL goalie whose name escapes me, and Vladar could be hitting the road. So I like that option as a backup. It just depends on how the rest of the starting situation goes.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you which one. They got 4 non-roster goaltenders right now. I don't know if it was Devin Cooley, Connor Murphy, Owen Say, or Terry. That's a lot.
You're good. I believe it was Devin Cooley.
Okay. So either way, when I look at Dan Vladar, I just look at him as, like you mentioned, like a backup option to fill time, fill space. If it is Jarry that's going out the door, which this is, again, all hypothetical, I don't like Vladar coming in to back up because I don't like Nedeljkovic being your guy going into the season.
Right.
Nedeljkovic is the backup. I think the backup that you, again, I think Vladar and Nedeljkovic are in the very similar atmosphere when it comes to their ceiling and their floor. They're guys that, for the most part, are best cast as a backup, but for a couple weeks, they can moonlight as a starter. They can be a starting goaltender for a couple of weeks. They can kind of get on a run for a couple of weeks. So I don't like having 2 of those guys in. Now, there is something to be said about, hey, he was the starter at the beginning of the year. He held down the fort, and then Dustin Wolf came up and supplanted him. That's what you're hoping from one of your multiple goaltenders, whether that's Philip Larson continues to break the mold, Joel Blomqvist bounces back and gets back on track with what we expected, or Sergei Miroshov just does what he's been doing and just skyrockets past everyone. You do have that experience in Vladar, who has said, hey, I've been there, I've done that, I've held down the fort, while a young guy gets ready. Maybe there's value in that, but I still feel like Ned can do that for you. I think Nedeljkovic could do that for you, and a different veteran option could come in. Now, if you're looking for somebody to be the starter with Ned as the backup, and then maybe you have one of those young guys, I'm looking more so at a guy like Jake Allen on the open market, because in 28 games played, he's got a .910 save percentage, a 2.6 goals against average, and I understand he is playing for a team that is much, and I cannot emphasize that enough, a much better defensive team in the New Jersey Devils. But if you're going into next season and the plan is we want to compete for a playoff spot and then eventually make some noise once we get there, I don't think a lot of these other options on the free agent market, including Dan Vladar, will get you there. I think a Jake Allen Nedeljkovic pairing gives you that opportunity at a much cheaper price than if you had Jarry still on the market or Jarry still on contract. So if Jarry is gone, or even if Ned is gone, I like Jake Allen for either situation.
Yeah,
he's an older guy. But cheaper contract then.
I think you're going to be dealing with older guys no matter what if you're fishing around free agency. If you're fishing around free agency, especially for the goalie market this year. I mentioned Frederik Andersen last time we had this discussion, and I will continue to until he signs a likely small extension in Carolina.
Yeah.
That dude hasn't lost really this year. He's 13-5 right now, even coming, again, made of glass, I know.
Yeah.
But I believe has come back from injury, I think it was, and hasn't lost yet, or is at least since a certain date has the best record in the NHL. He's riding a 7-game winning streak, I think it is. Even at the age of 35, you're putting up stuff like that. That's pretty good. I would say if you're losing Jarry, if you're going that direction, I would think Frederik Andersen would be the top target on a short-term deal that, again, injuries, so maybe you don't overpay him and let the rest foam underneath, and maybe someone supplants him. Maybe Anderson's the one that leads you to something great for, like I said, 1 to 2 years, and then it's here come the kids putting goalie for him.
Yeah.
I think Frederik Andersen could be an interesting one to watch. Just Vladar is a starter, no. Jake Allen's an intriguing name. I don't know how I feel about it because he's not necessarily as much of a clear-cut starter as someone like Andersen. But in this situation, you're dealing with Frederik Andersen and a lot of other guys.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a weird situation because how do the Penguins view their own goaltending right now? I think that's a big part of this, and there are a lot of questions to that. Now, we got some answers, sort of, from Josh Yohe earlier this week in The Athletic, where he said the Penguins' plans, as the same as last year, are contingent upon the performance of these netminders in the AHL playoffs. They go on a run, and that's led by Sergei Murashov. Maybe, just maybe, the door is open for him early next season. Or if they do what they did last year and they bow out in 2 games, maybe they just pump the brakes and they bring in a contingency plan, whether that's Dan Vladar, whether that's Jake Allen, or whether it's running it back with Tristan Jarry and Alex Nedeljkovic. So the one thing that he said in that entire article, and I won't give it all away, that I do really look at and get excited about is Murashov won't be blocked, is what Yohe said. That's huge. That means no matter who's here, if it is Alex Nedeljkovic on a contract year at whatever he's making, a little over 2 or around 2, he's not going to be blocked. If Murashov is ready, he's going to get the opportunity. And that is the huge thing for the Penguins right now. Now, of course, outside of that, who knows what their plans are? Like, are they looking to move on from Jarry? Are they looking to move on from Ned? Are they looking to give Blomqvist an opportunity early next season? Are they looking to give Philip Larson a chance, a kick at the can at the NHL level? Because he's been extremely good at the American Hockey League. So